Anybody have any questions that they'd love to ask Ernest?
What was your inspiration?
What is his inspiration?
So, hello, can y'all hear me all right?
I need my microphone.
Hello? Hello? Okay, so inspiration-wise, this show is called The Crows Collection because in the 90s in Japan, in Harajuku, they have a fashion movement called the Karasuzoku, which is like the Crows Collection or Crow family. It's just a bunch of goth kids that would wear all black. So yeah, I think this show is heavily influenced by Harajuku fashion.
The other mic is on now.
Hello, hello, hello.
He's working on it.
Whoa.
Oh, good.
Okay. Yeah, so that was my main inspiration. Other than that, I sourced a lot of materials, most of the materials in this show from the neighborhood here in Oak Cliff, especially in this little Winnetka Heights area. People throw out the craziest stuff in their front yard, so I would just pick a lot of those things and upcycle them, you know, because sometimes you gotta work with what you got.
A resourceful king. Wow. All right. Anybody? Another?
Yes.
Are the pieces for sale?
Are the pieces for sale?
Yes, all the pieces are for sale. So if you are interested in purchasing any, please just talk to me and I'll get you a price. And we can make that transaction. They're already priced. We can make it at $100 each piece. And that's the whole collection. So please just let me know if you're interested. That is a great question. Thank you so much for asking that.
After the Q&A, we are going to go ahead and bring the racks down here with the entire collection if anyone would like to have more of the details.
Okay, first of all, I have to say impressive collection. I'm impressed. But
Thank
you
you.
need to hook up with Ronnie from the XX. She will love your collection.
Oh,
I think
Ronnie.
so.
I've heard of this person before.
Yeah, from the XX, the British group.
Okay.
My favorite group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm gonna look into that. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
If you're stuck in the back there, you can feel free to come up here on the sides if you'd like. Not meaning to call anyone out, but you know, whatever you're comfortable with. I don't want to get squished back there. Any more?
Also, I want to say the calligraphy is for sale as well. It's by my good friend Mateus, who helped me put this show together. So if y'all interested in his pieces, yeah, very affordable. It's all handcrafted.
Each one is $50, but I can do custom pieces of anything. And these are also upcycled. I can be honest that each of these frames is from Goodwill. I got them from Goodwill and I upcycled it. But all this I learned from COVID.
Awesome.
COVID.
Ma'am? Go ahead.
For a brand new artist starting out, how much of a commitment do you have for your craft?
That is a great question. Thank you, Mother. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of time, a lot of sweat. A lot of times you have to sacrifice your free time for the craft, especially if you're, you know, having to work a part-time or full-time job. But it's all about balance, and I think that it's always about the long game and not the short game. You really have to plan things out and take your time so that things can happen in a sustainable way, in a healthy way, and you don't burn yourself out. And I also feel like it can be hard. It can be hard if you're trying to do things alone, and that's why it's always great to have a beautiful community with you that's willing to help you execute your work at an even higher level. Like a lot of people that I have here. Yeah.
Takes a village.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I have a question actually for you is, did you learn anything about yourself during this design process? I know you were kind of under like some stress. You're getting everything put together. It's amazing to see it come together. So did you have like a moment where you're like, I just learned something about myself all of a sudden because I've never been in this situation before?
I think I had to face a lot of personal growth executing this collection, executing this show, setting up the gallery, learning how to manage my time, learning how to communicate with people in an effective manner, learning how to not be avoidant. I've had a lot of habits that are avoidant and very, oh, I can't hit this person up because of this reason or that reason. And having the show come closer and closer, I had to push past a lot of that. So that's something that I've learned about myself that I could be better about. And then also with the show itself, executing the show itself, it's hard being the leader, it's hard being the director, having to send people to certain places or tell people no. It was very difficult to tell people no for me very early on. Like, hey, no, we're not doing that. We're gonna do this because that's the original plan. So that was very difficult for me as well because I love to have fun and I love to be, you know, I'm a Taurus sign, so very chill, very chill. So this was, I had to put a little fire behind myself so I could really get this thing going. So I would say that's what I learned.
If no one has any more questions, okay?
Okay.
So right there.
Do you have a specific vision when you're creating pieces, like from up front, or is it kind of like you're like freestyling from the go once you collect these pieces, or you know?
Excellent question, brother. I actually have been teaching myself how to make clothes since about 2019. And I started with just like upcycling old sweaters, so that was just like cutting and sewing. And now I've gotten to the point where I can drape designs and use pattern making to create original designs. So a lot of times now I can actually just concept something, but frequently I'm testing things out when I'm making garments because I don't actually know. I don't have the education behind, oh, I need to make this shawl collar with this sort of design or this sort of seam. I'm just kind of doing it and learning as the process goes, which I don't recommend to anyone.
I feel like sometimes you overall are really focused on fashion being like accessible to anyone. It's been over a decade since we've been friends, and just watching you like slowly become more resourceful and more, resourceful basically, because sometimes it's a struggle out here. So for the Arts Mission to give you this opportunity and kind of give you a chance to finally showcase your work has been a real pleasure.
Yeah, you know, shout out to my mother and shout out to Arts Mission for funding this show, letting this show happen, letting the clothes happen, letting us use the space. Yeah, shout out to Avery, Lauren, Ataye for helping me organize the gallery, helping me organize the show, helping me out with funds and everything like that, because it doesn't happen without that sort of support at all. Yeah. And
Do you have a question? All right, go ahead.
Why did you start making clothes?
Why did you start to make clothes?
oh my gosh, I started making clothing because I wanted to do. I was originally interested in graphic design, and I was originally always drawing throughout my life. I just didn't know how I would professionally, you know, make it as a sort of drawing artist in a sense. There weren't a lot of examples like that for me early on. So later on, I started getting into fashion. I started seeing people that look like me, shout out to Virgil Abloh, that look like me making it in the fashion industry. So I was like, maybe I can start to use my talent drawing and translate that into garments. And so I started just doing lots of fashion sketches, and then I was like, okay, it's time to learn how to make clothes.
Bring it to life.
Right.
Yeah.
Fashion is one of the most visible forms of self-expression. I
And
feel
art.
like it's not really a judging someone at first sight, but when someone obviously puts a lot of effort and mindfulness into cultivating what they're wearing, you feel like you kind of get a sense of who they are as a person. And I remember you saying one time, like, I want something like this, but it just doesn't exist for me yet. It hasn't been made yet. But I have a drawing of something that maybe could be made, and then it kind of felt like it went from there.
Yeah, Andy, I feel like you've seen so many ideas. not come to fruition. I have so many drawings and sketching because that's like my #1 passion, and then the clothing kind of comes from that. I'm like, oh, well, there's kind of a drawing element in pattern making, so it's kind of a way for me to translate my true love, in a sense.
Pattern making?
Yeah.
Sorry. I said pattern making. Sorry.
You're good?
Does anybody else over here? Oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
Can you talk about the the floral pieces?
Yes, the Ikebana.
Oh.
Yes.
Me?
Yeah, Andy.
Oh.
Andy did
I was
the
like, I didn't
beautiful
think there was
flower
much to
arrangements
say.
in the space.
I basically just volunteered to create floral pieces for here because I came in and saw how it was being set up, and I thought, needs a little something. That's basically the extent of it. Yeah, I feel like it was just another aspect of the community thing. I remember, I think it was 2 months ago, you were like, got the funding, we're doing the show, you gotta help me. And I was like, I don't know how I could help, but I'll definitely try. So it has been a pleasure. You said it was inspired by Japan. I normally do other types of flower arranging, so I thought, oh my gosh, Ikebana, it's so different aesthetically from, the normal, I guess, like more European style bouquets. So it was a bit of a challenge to me, but I'm so happy that you liked them.
Great job.
You did a great job. In the back there?
Yeah, out of all the time that you spent working on this show, now that it's kind of gone its course, are you happy with the final product?
I think it was actually 100 times better than anything I could have done alone or even imagined. I did not, this is a dream, like the fact that Donovan, Shelby, Andy, Matthias, everyone's here, so it's like we did it together, and I'm just extremely grateful. And I feel like it's 100 times better than anything I could have personally done or thought. It's beautiful.
Start planning the next one.
Question, what was your favorite piece in the collection?
Because y'all all have one.
Favorite piece.
So my favorite piece is actually the sort of crow-looking overcoat. It has like the white sleeve that's like a really crazy shoulder. Lo wore it during the second look. And it's my favorite because I actually draped it and made it about 3 days ago. So, but
3 days. Well,
it's really cool though. I really like it.
Yeah. Like kind of a calendar song, maybe.
Yeah.
I can tell you're like heavily inspired by Ray Kubo's work in that sense.
Reiko Kubo, shout out to Reiko Kubo. And I tend to like the pieces that I hand sew. So that was a piece that I hand sewed together. So it's always different when it comes out hand sewn versus machine sewn.
I have another question right here. Go ahead.
Are you looking into moving into production with the pieces?
Currently, I don't think so, just because they're all upcycled and they all have their own unique vibe going on. But I might just take influence from the collection and do some production. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
yeah.
Will you ever make like accessories album or like
Absolutely. Time is like my biggest enemy. I had so many things planned for this show, and when it came to it, I was like, okay, we can't do the high leg toppy socks. We can't do the big gloves and things like that because there's just not enough time. But the second show, I think, is gonna be amazing.
If anybody has any more questions, feel free. If not, we are going to go ahead and move the racks with the pieces down here if anyone would like to stick around. Oh, sorry, Matthew.
This is a good question. Okay, so what are some of your creative inspirations and draw from other artists, cultures, media, etc. You said Ray Kokubo. There must be more. I don't know much about him.
Yes, I would say Ray Kokubo is my biggest influence. I would say that I love to take influence from my home as well. Me and my family actually just came back recently from Louisiana, and we're from a place called Sicily Island, and that was just a really humbling experience and really pushed me to work hard, and you know, that's one of my influences as well. And I would say just Black culture in general, I try to always have some sort of reference towards my own culture. And then I would say Japan, you know, our trip, me and Matthias went to Japan. We were in Japan from like 2015 to 2016, just running through like the stores, the conceptual stores there. I would, you know, we were studying abroad. And
He
like,
studied abroad for
yeah.
a year in Japan.
Matthias would be like, yo, we're going to Hong Kong this week. And I'd be like, bro, I'm actually just gonna go thrifting, I'm sorry. It's crazy out here, so that's like one of my biggest influences. Yeah. And shout out to my models, shout out to Lo, shout out to Lauren, shout out to Becca, shout out to Lawan, shout out to Kenny. Y'all were lovely, y'all killed it. I couldn't have asked for a better cast.
Thank you guys again so much for coming out and supporting Ernest. I honestly can't think of someone who deserves it more. So thank you again. The garments will be ready to view in just a few moments. Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.